Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for joining us for another edition of your favorite news magazine program, 90 Minutes in Africa, coming to you from my media Prime Africa. We are broadcasting from Douala, the economic capital of Cameroon in Central Africa. 90 Minutes in Africa is a program which brings to you latest news from the continent and also examines some of the newsmaking items during the week, and also dives into issues affecting Africa in the political, economic, and social domains. I'm your host, Boh Elvis. In today's edition of the program, we're going to be talking about the impact of the social media on the African society and how Africa can leverage technology so as to be able to compete with other continents. Before I bring you the latest news from Africa, time for me to introduce my guests in today's edition of the program. Let me begin with Labaran Bekondo-Analyst. Thanks for joining us today, Labaran.
It's my pleasure to always be here to share African ideas and looking at Africa in an African eye. Thank you very much.
And next is Ivo Boh, a social analyst, a regular guest in this program. Ivo Boh, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Elvis, and thank you, televiewers. We hope to get the best today, as usual. Thank you for watching, and keep on watching.
Tohndoh Augustine-Panafricanist and an apostle. Tohndoh, this is his second participation in the program. Thanks for accepting the invitation, sir.
Thank you, Elvis. It's a pleasure to be here, and I think every time we find ourselves in a platform like this to talk about Africa, we feel that we are honored.
Philemon Mballe, a senior journalist and also sports analyst. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Elvis, and special thanks to my Media Prime for giving us such an opportunity to talk on these topical issues affecting the African continent. And I want to reiterate here that the topic of today is a very sensitive one. It's a topic that has been gaining grounds with adverse as well as positive effects on the African continent. I'm talking about social media and technology in general. So I think we are ready. We shall be giving in in-depth analysis as well as opinions, why not commentaries on this particular topic today, as well as other news-making events on the African continent. Once more, it's always a pleasure for me to come on set and talk about Africa.
Meanwhile, you can watch the program by joining us on our Facebook page. You go to My Media Prime, like the Facebook page, and share to as many groups as possible so that other people across Africa can be able to watch the program. Time for us to begin with the latest news from across Africa. We start with COVID-19. The African Union has announced that it is dropping plans to buy additional doses of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine directly from the Serum Institute of India, and will instead focus on securing further vaccines from Johnson & Johnson. According to the director of the African Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the decision was not related to recent safety concerns over AstraZeneca, but linked to their close collaboration with COVAX. Last week, the African Vaccine Acquisition Task Team signed an advance purchase agreement with Johnson & Johnson for 220 million doses on behalf of 55 African member states of the African Union. In the same light, at least 4.3 million Africans have contracted COVID-19, according to statistics from the Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention. The specialized healthcare agency of the African Union said the death toll from the pandemic stood at more than 114,000, while more than 3,868,000 patients across the continent have recovered from the disease. Southern Africa is the most affected region, followed by Northern and Eastern Africa. African countries have received about 33.8 million COVID-19 vaccine doses from different sources, mainly the COVAX facility. Let's now take you over to Djibouti, where Djibouti President Ismail Omar Guelleh has won a fifth term and would extend his 21-year-long rule. He won 98.5% of the vote. With a population of less than 1 million, Djibouti lies on the world's busiest shipping route, the Gulf of Aden, and hosts US, Chinese, and French military bases. Ismail Guelleh, picked to succeed his uncle, Guelleh Aptidon, faced only one challenger, a relative newcomer called Zakaria Ismail Farah. Now to Benin, where Benin will hold its 7th presidential election on Sunday since the 1990 National Conference that paved the way for the country's peace transition from military dictatorship to democracy. The country's reputation as a beacon of democracy was tarnished by the 2019 violence that followed the legislative election, where security forces killed at least 4 protesters. Incumbent Patrice Talon promised a KO first-round victory in an election that opponents say is already rigged after its main rivals were disqualified from running. With less than 24 hours to go before the election, the blocking of roads by anti-Talon protesters is disrupting the delivery of election materials to polling stations north of the country. Let's now move to neighboring Chad in Central Africa, where Chad's interior minister says it has arrested several people after uncovering a plot to assassinate prominent political figures and bomb polling stations and the Electoral Commission headquarters ahead of Sunday's presidential election. The ministry also said politicians were among those arrested for planning the killings of opposition and civil society leaders in an attempt to frame the government. Now to Ethiopia, where an Ethiopian federal official says clashes involving Ethiopia's 2 largest ethnic groups killed more than 300 people over several days last month. The violence began March 19 and unfolded in 2 zones of the Amhara region. The data collected by the local officials and members of security forces also indicates that 369 people were injured, while at least 1,539 homes were burnt. Let's come back home to Cameroon and talk about this sad news, where a major player in the reunification of Cameroon in the 1960s, Von Victor Mukete, has journeyed to the world beyond at the age of 103. Eldest member of parliament in Cameroon, he was once Minister of Information in Nigeria before the reunification of southern Cameroons with French Cameroon. The ruler of the Bafors was author of the book My Odyssey, the story of Cameroon's reunification, with authentic letters of key players. Still in sad news, African leaders have been mourning Prince Philip shortly after his death. Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari described him as a global icon and said the Commonwealth will remember the prince for generations to come. The governments of Cameroon, Zambia, Eswatini, Kenya, among others, sent their condolence messages to the Queen alongside messages from former African heads of state. The core message is for God to comfort the royal court, the government, and the people of the UK and Northern Ireland during this dark hour of loss. That's the latest news from across Africa. If you're just joining us, you're watching 90 Minutes in Africa, your Pan-African news magazine program, coming to you from my Media Prime Africa. Time for us now to take a look at what websites have been saying about African-related news stories. Let's watch the African News web zap. We shall be right back. Welcome back. That was our Africa Web Zap, taking a look at some news making items during the week as seen by websites across Africa. Time for us now to get reactions either on the news of the day or maybe on the Africa Web Zap before we launch our topic of discussion. I begin with you, Ivo Boh. You watched the news I just presented as well as the Africa Web Zap. Which story caught your attention today?
Yeah, Elvis, the story that caught my attention was, the first one was that the African Union has denounced plan to buy more of AstraZeneca, and I said thank God, because many other nations have been able to, especially in the Western world, have denounced it following the effects it has on humans. For me, they should have already withdrawn the vaccine, you know, from the world market. They shouldn't have been selling it following the effect it had, you know, very devastating effect. So I thank God that.
Though in some cases, just in some cases, it's not like it's just cases of blood clot.
Yes.
But it's not like in all the cases, you know, because some countries are still using it because experts have said that the benefits outweigh the risk. It's true that it's having the case of blood clots, but it's not like it's really rampant that way.
Well, following the information I got from a good number of countries, me as an African, you know, if they ask me to take that vaccine, I would think that it's suicidal. I will not.
Okay.
Yes. The next one I got, you know, is about the alarming rate of the alarming rate of the COVID-19 infection, 4.3 million. Is that not too much? That's too. And we remember that it's not long. The WHO had warned Africa that in the near future, Africa is going to face high risk. You know, it's going to be high risk zone, and the number keep on skyrocketing. And
that is just based on the statistics they have.
Yes.
Because so many people have not yet been screened.
So I think that a good number of African countries in the government of African countries should take it as a policy to see how they can be able to step up barrier measures in order to handle this, to reduce its spread.
Thank you.
I'm not true.
Okay.
There is an issue of this Djibouti president.
Yeah, Ismail,
who goes in for the 5th term of office. It coincides again with the WhatsApp. You know, Debbie is eyeing the 6th term. What is wrong with African presidents? I think that we should be able to work and give room for others. Work and give room for others. You know, most good number of African countries, they seem that the presidential term of office is not it is limitless. You know, people want to stay there for eternity. I think that is a problem there. And the last, which is not the least, I've always admired Benin for democracy in Africa. When issues like violence and other items start coming up to disrupt that position as an icon of democracy, we start some worries there. So I just feel a little bit worried about the issue concerning Benin.
Okay, thank you, Ivo Boh. Labaran Bekondo, which news item caught your attention?
I have two. Idris Deby of Chad, eyeing already from what he says there. I know after one in advance already tells you there's no need for even an election, or if there's one, it's just there for formality, because he's telling us already he has already won. That's the first one. The second is the anti-protests, United Nations anti-protests in the Democratic Republic of Congo. I look at this one very keenly because in my thesis I'm handling something of that nature. Anti-protests. You find in a conflict that started since 1960, the rules of the game are still the same. So what is wrong? If you see the UN coming in, and yet you find people who are protesting against their coming in, what is actually wrong? That goes on to the problem that I prescribe, that African problems and conflict should be seized from the roots. We should go back to the root causes of African problems in order to solve many problems we have here in Africa. That news item actually struck me a lot.
Thank you, Labaran Bekondo. Philemon Mballe, any reaction, any news story that caught your attention today?
Well, not really, but just, I mean, for the past 2 years, since 2018, 3 years, I should say, I've been on the DRC while living in Congo. I mean, we covered a lot of stories concerning the troubled northern Kivu region. And it's the same question, why we have foreign international bodies on our soils, yet the problem seems to be prolonging. It seems to be, how do you say it? So they don't get a definite solution, and I really, this is not the first time the DR Congolese people from the northern Kivu region are protesting against the United Nations presence in their land. It's not the first time. We've even had a couple of years back, I covered a couple of stories there, where these UN peacekeeping forces were accused of atrocities, deadly atrocities against the Congolese who they are supposed to be protecting from the rebels and all sorts of trouble. So it still beats my imagination why we cannot fix our problems by ourselves. We still need these international bodies who come, and it looks like they spread out the problem instead. Over the years, it lasts longer. So, I mean, it really caught my imagination, and I begin to wonder when Africans we will be able to sort out ourselves by ourselves without foreign intervention. And also, Djibouti, a small nation. Now listen to your news, what you presented, Elvis. It's really worrisome. A small nation of less than 1 million people, and you have French, Chinese, and American forces in their land.
Because of the strategic location. Because of the strategic location of Djibouti.
All right, that's all for now.
Okay, Tohndoh Augustine, which news story caught your attention?
Okay, thank you. I actually have 3 stories that caught my attention. The first story is the story of the Djibouti president, which we're just saying that he won elections, 98%. This is so alarming. And
98.5%.
But I think there's a problem. Because if you look at that story, you discover that the opposition actually boycotted the elections. And this lone guy who stood for the election, he's a businessman, and who is just coming in new in the political field in Djibouti, and he stood to stand against the president. And everybody already knew that it was just to show that it was election between 2 people. Because if we really want to go by the definition of democracy, we see this no more democracy. Because if the opposition is staying back, it means the people are not ready again. And this man is going for this number of terms. And you see, all these countries, you have cited, we have the Chinese military base, the American military base, and all those. Every country where you see all these foreigners come and put in their military base, you find long-term precedents. It's like their military bases are actually there to protect the presidents who are in place, not to leave power or what. I don't actually understand. And one of the things I'm discovering is because these presidents serve their interests. And so long as you're able to serve the interests of these big powers, you can be. They don't care about what your people feel. They don't care about whether you're serving the interests of the people or not. It's the same like what is happening in Mali, and you find the military base of the French and others. But then problem continues. My question is, what is the need for the military base when we can't have peace in the African soil? The second story that actually caught my attention was the story of the African Union dropping AstraZeneca and turning to Johnson & Johnson's. Good news for dropping AstraZeneca, but another doubt, Johnson & Johnson.
Okay.
Another doubt. And my question, Johnson & Johnson is a company that has had over 25,000 lawsuits in America for the attack baby powder which they produce, which has caused a lot of cancer in women. They have paid over $33 billion as reparations. And this company, they produce a baby powder. It has been noted for causing cancers, and they have come up with a vaccine. How can I trust this vaccine? And research shows, Reuters News shows that from 1970 to 2000, actually Johnson & Johnson actually knew that there was this carcinogen, this asbestos carcinogen in their product that was susceptible to causing cancer in women, especially ovarian cancer. They knew That's what news shows that they knew. That's why the courts had fined them, and they paid up to 33 million US dollars to victims. Now, this is the same company that has come up now to pose as the savior of the world, producing a vaccine. And African Union is dropping AstraZeneca, and it's not even turning to Moderna or Pfizer, it's turning to Johnson & Johnson. And my question is, why do we always go to questionable sources?
We are dead.
Can we not go to can we not go to Pfizer? Can we not go to Moderna? So they're dropping
all the other companies that you are mentioning, they too have their own issues.
They have their own issues, but
no
they have lawsuits. They have lawsuits, but to me, that of Johnson & Johnson is so alarming. 25,000 lawsuits for a single company over a single product is actually alarming. So I am actually saying it's good news for dropping AstraZeneca. But for Johnson & Johnson, I think the African CDC still need to do a lot of clarifications. And that vaccine, I want to plead. I know many are listening to us. Now, this is a Pan-African platform, and I want to plead that Africans shouldn't just accept vaccines from the West and they start using without going through medical testing. It's true that these vaccines have been tested in those countries and by those companies, but let the African Union, the African CDC, has a center in which it also goes through another confirmation test. And the results are now presented to the public, African public. We shouldn't just be consumers. We take things we consume without even questioning. Before the Western world is now showing that there's a problem with AstraZeneca, we're ready to consume it without questions. We are dropping because European countries drop. If European countries didn't drop, we will go into consume AstraZeneca without any question. So my problem is, should we be going to consume things just because the Western world has actually approved? Lastly, the story that caught my attention, the UN, the anti-protest against UN in DRC, since the killing of I think Dag Hammarskjöld, who was the then UN Secretary General, who was coming to DRC to solve a problem. They killed him in the soil, and his predecessors, many have come, Kofi Annan and many others have come, and today they have not been able to solve the problem. So my question is, what is the use of the UN in the DRC soil? Now look at the Central African Republic. What has changed? Look at all the other countries. We are talking about Labaran Bekondo being acquitted today, but this happened under the watchful eyes of the UN forces and the French forces. So my question is, why do we harbor you in our African soil when we can't have the much needed peace? If we're bringing you in, we're bringing you in for peace. So if there's no peace, I think these guys in DRC, they have just realized what Mr. Philemon Mballe just said is what I stand for. Africans should learn to solve their problems by themselves. Let us turn to ourselves and see how we can solve our problems. Let us not trust in these foreign powers, because they are people who play a game of interest. They come in when they will have their interests. And I think the main interest should not be to solve the problem. If not, Central African Republic should not be in the mess in which they are today. If not, we should not have the Côte d'Ivoire still in a state of tension. We should not have DRC from 1960, where they even killed the Secretary General, till today. Problem has not been solved. I think Africans, Pan-Africanists, should start thinking and start asking themselves questions.
Thank you, Apostles. Thank you, Tohndoh Augustine, for those and for that analysis. Time for us to usher our first panel discussion, which is about the impact of the social media on Africa. I think we're going to be examining the positive and, of course, the negative impact. Thank you, Philemon Mballe, for suggesting this topic, which is very, very important. We have to talk about the social media, which has come with a lot of advantages for Africans, but also it has come with lots of disadvantages. And I think we should begin with the positive before moving to the negative. Philemon Mballe, what prompted you to suggest this topic? I think, remember, it was during the last program you had one who gave me the inspiration to bring forth this topic. What prompted you to suggest this topic to be part of our discussion?
Honestly, what triggered my attention towards this was the fact that I think it stemmed from the images of the late Cardinal that went viral. And I asked myself almost instantly, why would we let technology use us? Technology was meant for us to use and not for it to use us. So that inspired my thinking around this particular topic, Elvis. And unfortunately, you are asking me about the positive aspects. I mean, I have a lot of negative aspects. So
let's just brush the positive.
I may be limited. I may be a little bit limited concerning the positive aspects, but take nothing away from that. There are positive aspects of social media, especially in an African context. The world has become a global village, as they say. So for Africans too, it's quite interesting. And I mean, it facilitates our job. I can work in South Africa while in Cameroon. I mean, I can communicate, I can attend conferences, I can moderate like the East African Business Forum, which I'm about to be a moderator in a couple of minutes. So that already is a positive one for social media and technology, either ways. And that's the much I can see in an African context. It facilitates trade, it facilitates communication, it brings about convenience, though not happiness.
Ivo Boh, the social media has come. We're talking about Facebook, we're talking about LinkedIn, YouTube, and all of that. There are so many people who never had opportunity to be known, who had hidden talents, but due to the coming of the social media, they are able to make themselves known, they are able to make their activities known, and they are able to showcase their talent to the world. Don't you find this very, don't you think in the past years, many Africans have been able to have opportunities in the global scene because of the exposure to the social media?
Well, Elvis, that is really true. It has some advantages, or many advantages. Job opportunities, people have been able to get job advertised through Facebook or all that, and through the Googles and then the rest, and it has given them opportunity to work, in other parts of the world, and it has also acted as a medium for education. They use e-learning and all that, for education, with the digital learning, which has also been beneficial, especially within this era of the COVID-19. If we look at an aspect of development also, you look at the housing, aspect of trade, in housing has to indicate when people have visited other countries through the social media, because what they see and through the developments there, they'll be able to implant that in their own countries, and that has been able to help them to grow. And in the political domain, sometimes we'll be able to watch parliamentary debates, which started up, verbal, and even some of them, they end up with them, they were concluded by fiscal blows, which we saw several, which was still part of aspect of democracy, and there were several, despite all the grievances or the conflicts which they had, finally they sat down on the table in the parliament to come out with resolutions which helped to foster the state. And also we have had situation of elections that we'll be able to witness, which pass all around. And there have been so many advantages which I think that what the social media will be able to bring, especially within this our era, to make the world a global village.
Okay, Labaran, the social media has also made it very possible, very difficult for sitting leaders to rig elections, because at first we used to wait for the, such electoral bodies are always termed independent electoral body. If such electoral bodies are always described as independent electoral bodies, at first we needed to wait for them to release results of either presidential or parliamentary elections. But with the coming of the social media, the job has been made very difficult for non-independent electoral bodies to rig elections.
That is very true. Sometimes I like praising the social media for this same fact. This technology will actually appreciate it more from the West. In Africa, we are not seeing the impact of this social media on elections, because the rigging machinery is stronger than the social media in Africa. So I don't know whether we'll take the media social or social media, because Africa, you don't see it. The machinery goes. That somebody is telling you already, from a news app. Yes. I know in advance I've won the elections.
So before elections,
the
results are already known.
So it's wonderful. as Mr. Philemon Mballe said, we have little successes when it comes to social media in Africa. But at least with social media, the presence of social media, at least we can boast of many things. We can boast of so many revolutions.
So that's
personally, in the state, we can boast that there's some revolutions that are taking place silently because of our savoir-faire, who are bigger than our yesterday, thanks to the social media. So there's a lot. I am here. I'm not going to Central Africa where I'm carrying out my thesis, but through the social media, I work and I get facts, laudable facts from social media. It's wonderful in the academic field, but in other areas, as Nombre was saying, it's so bad.
Okay, we'll get back to you. Philemon Mballe, I think the social media too has also made information accessible to Africa, through Twitter, you know, from the comfort of your home, you can easily share information. I think that should be a positive, something which is laudable.
Of course, especially when it comes to communication, and like I reiterated, the world has become a global village thanks to interconnectivity, the internet, social media. All of that falls under the umbrella. So you are very correct to say that. We are very correct to say that the evidence are everywhere. I mean, there are people watching us live from abroad, far and near. All of this is thanks to social media and technological advancement. So, like I said, of course there are positive aspects about social media, especially in an African context. But this thing was created by the white man. It was designed for a particular purpose. I mean, I have evidence, videos where people like Zuckerberg were questioned on the subject matter, and then they give their impression. So it's a broad culture, first of all, and second of all, it wasn't designed for our context. We are just benefiting. So that's why the Westerners will benefit more from social media and technology than Africa, because from the onset we were not incorporated in the conceptualization and the production and the release and everything about social media. So there are good sides, there are bad sides. Like I said, it has facilitated it is facilitating our jobs as journalists, of course, and on several aspects of life, the social media has been more positive.
Tohndoh Augustine, any positive aspect from the social media in Africa?
I think, yeah, there are positive aspects, though at one point the negative outweighs the positive, but then there are still positive aspects. Before I cite some few of them, I want to just say something on the question you asked, Labaran, and you were talking about the election, the results made available while election is still going on. And social media by some candidates who know that these are the process verbals that show that I won, and then you will have the independent electoral bodies coming up to say that result was not true, and then you always hear them say it was social media results. Social media results, which means even in Africa we've resisted even the impact of social media on our electoral system. We don't want it. We say it's social media results, and in most countries like Uganda, that just went through its elections, prior to elections, they banned social media. They just do a blackout in social media to say we don't need
Congo. You happen to in Congo.
Even in Congo, so to say we don't need you in our elections. So if we're talking about its effect on the African democracy, it's very little. It's very little, because you see, like in the United States of America, when election is going on, you find election results coming up on social media, and they're doing reporting live. and what you find on social media is what ends up being accepted. But in Africa, you see, they will even give a whole lot of weeks before election is being declared, and whatever comes on social media, no matter how good it is, they will tell you it's social media results. So the effect.
But at the same time, it doesn't stop the people from knowing. I mean, even if the results are rigged,
and if you
people will
know
the
what
true
you can't
results of the
change,
election.
if you know what you can't change, it doesn't make sense. You should be able to. Your knowledge should be able to be productive. Your knowledge should be productive, which means if I know something, I should be able to change it. So that's one of the issues. We also have the positive aspects, like social media has helped to bring people together. It has helped to bring people together, though it has brought us together, but not closer. You'll find situations where you will see a mother no more paying attention to the child because you have been bent on your Facebook or Twitter for hours. And you see, though we are together, we are not closer. We seem to be together because you can see somebody on Facebook, you can see somebody on Twitter, or on all those kind of social media. Social media has also helped in a lot of studies too, because now we can be able to attend universities online. There are a lot of universities now that do online courses. Before it was not like that. It was difficult, you have to travel, but now I can be able to attend courses in the university in maybe Maryland without necessarily have to go to America and all those things. So those are some of the positive aspects of social media. Social media has also been good. It has become a market on its own. It has become a publicity tool. Today, if you have your products you want to sell, you put them online. In a few minutes, you find people coming in. We have now online marketing. Online marketing is based mostly on social media, and a lot of people are making a lot of money on that. You find people like Alibaba. Alibaba has become great today because of social media. Amazon, eBay, and all those guys, they are among the top richest people on earth, but they're using social media, and you see a lot of things are going on. So most of these online marketing companies, they have employed, we can say, even a larger population of the world. You talk about Amazon. Amazon is the biggest employer in America now, the biggest private employer in America now, and it's online. And you know, so all these things, when you look into it, you see that social media has positive aspects, no matter the negative aspects. What actually happened is what Mr. Philemon Mballe just said, because in the conception of social media, the African system was not really taken into consideration. So it's like we borrow a system that was made for a different society, and we're struggling to use it. No matter how nice you use that system, it will have some negative impact on your system, on your economy, and on everything. Because when you look at the social media, the way it is in Africa, our African government did not really regulate that sector. When they came in, we just embraced. But you find in some countries, it is being regulated. I remember about 5 years ago, I was in Ethiopia, and I struggled to go to Facebook. I couldn't have Facebook. I think I came to the reception of my hotel, and I was asking the attendant, why can't the internet is going on other things, but it doesn't go on Facebook? And she told me, we don't have Facebook here. And I was like, wow, there's no Facebook here. So I think if African governments could take steps also to regulate the use of social media, not to ban, but to regulate its use, I think at one point in time, it can really be so productive to us. But overall, it was made for a good purpose. It's just its misuse that has led to all the negative aspects that we're having.
Thank you, Tohndoh Augustine. Ivo Boh, I get to you now. We understand that many of our young people today find it difficult using the social media. We find people who film images of respectable people in the society and post on the social media during their most sacred moments. For example, we're talking about, for example, the death of the cardinal, and someone filmed the image of the cardinal on his dying bed. This is supposed to be some sort of a sacred moment, the last moment of your life, and it was posted on the social media, and we find it everywhere. You know, what do you think? Do you think Africans no longer understand the importance of respecting the dead, the importance of of showing respect to people who find themselves under such conditions, or do you think it's just a matter of negligence?
Elvis, I think it is a matter of negligence. A matter of negligence. That situation goes with several others. You find people suffering. You find a situation where an accident occurs in a place, and instead of coming to assist the people on that particular scene, people are there crying. Instead of assisting, others stand there filming. There was a situation somewhere in the neighborhood where I witnessed fire, and a fire incident ravaging a home. You know, to go and assist again, remove some of the things, or help the person who is facing that destruction or that demise, people instead rush, they rush with them a phone and then they are filming.
So you're saying, for example, that we can find a situation whereby an accident occurs somewhere, and someone having a phone rushes to the scene of the accident, and instead of maybe helping the victim, the person removes the phone and starts doing a Facebook Live.
That's it. That's it. And and people feel. I agree. The Archbishop of last time was talking. He was calling on Christians to respect the dignity of individuals. People have to respect the dignity and the privacy. I also stand very greatly on that. I was very bitter when I saw the image of the cardinal in a renowned, not to that, a hospital. The doctors and nurses, they are there to protect life, and it's things concerning somebody's health and their it's a privacy. It's a privacy which needs to be respected. That was an abuse to whatever hospital and then to the profession also. We now call it is a humble appeal that people should respect the dignity of others. That's one of the situations where people really go out of hand to instead assist persons in that moment, in moment of suffering, in moment of pain. They feel excited, getting images and then sending them outside. I don't think that was though the social media is there for news, but when it comes to a situation where you can be able to give assistance, that should take priority. It should take precedence.
Thank you. Labaran Bekondo, I'll get back to you now. I remember when we were growing up in those days, I remember that the Christmas season was usually a festive period, and during which we had lots of expectations, as we had to wait for our brothers and sisters that are coming back from the coast. And it was such a moment of great expectation to see them again and hug them. But today with the social media, you don't need to wait for your brother or sister from the coast. You just need to make a call, a WhatsApp video call, and you see him. And then it has some sort of reduced interaction between human beings, and we no longer get excited when we meet someone as it was before. Don't you think this is a negative aspect?
It is. It's a negative aspect, because as I'd like to go to what Philemon said, is detaching us from our customs. It's actually detaching us from our customs. We Africans have customs. We have a way of life. Our African way of life is a legacy and as well a lifestyle. But with the coming in now of the social media, you find it trampling on that custom. It's a very serious problem. It tramples on the custom. We now take away our own cultural attitudes and ambits away for the West, which of course it is a bad culture. As you rightly said, we were waiting from the 20th to the 23rd. We were always at the roadside waiting. And if you come, you see the euphoria. But today, it's not there. We are moving away from these beautiful things we had at first, now looking at them as anatomic, and now going for things that the West is imposing on us. So actually, we are going backward instead of making progress ahead with the coming in of this social media.
Thank you, Philemon. I know you have something you want to say.
I always have something to say.
But before you say what you have to say, let me ask you a question related to your domain, communication. Okay. It is true that the social media has come to cause the mainstream media to sit up, because at first we used to have the mainstream media dominating. You had to tune into your TV station to watch the news, but today, before you tune into your TV station, you already have the news in the social media, and. Despite the fact that the social media is there, people still tune into traditional media channels to verify the news items that they find in the social media. So what I'm trying to say, what I want to ask you is, in which way can we say the social media has come to maybe drown the impact of the traditional of the mainstream media in the African society?
That is, to me, that's a practical impossibility, because if, for instance, I give you a simple example. If a journalist, a trained journalist, and a regular citizen are going down the street and there's a bloody accident, the way the two persons will report the story clearly will be very different. Now, don't be surprised to see the regular individual take photos of a dead person, take pictures of blood, and sends online immediately. So, whereas the trained journalist would not, it's not
from afar.
That is it. It's not about breaking the news first. It's about giving the cause, the effect, and the way forward.
And following up the news after.
Following up. So, social media can never outsmart, I mean, my job. I can never run out of a job as a journalist because of social media, because they are two, they may be on a similar trajectory, but bro, it's probably day and night. So first of all, that's what I would say. Social media can never, and it will never fill in the gap of traditional mainstream media. Now let me just quickly talk about some negative aspects of the social media, since we already getting into it. Elvis, it's very commonplace now. Labaran was talking about annihilating our culture and implementing, putting in place a borrowed culture. If you are very keen, this is how most people drive on the streets. So the left hand on the steering and the right hand on their phone, especially those with the automatic gear setting. So it's like this, how they drive, up, down, up, down. I wonder how you can keep your concentration on the highway with your phone, probably having a rousy conversation with a lady or whosoever. Your concentration is splitted, it's divided. You cannot tell me you are focusing on the phone and you're focusing on the road. Now road accidents are very prevalent as a result of that breach in concentration. Same thing, those on motorbikes, they are there and they're on their phone. Incoming danger, it takes you because you're blinded. Your focus is on your phone. Social media, once again, I mean, it's made a lot of people to become a little more lazy. I mean, I remember 2018, he was the best journalist. He was heralded as the best journalist while we worked at STV. And then I called him, I say, when was the last time you read a book from start to finish? God, what are you trying to say? I say, honestly, when was the last time you read a book from first page to the last page? And then he said, this is serious. I think it should be while we were in the university.
Exactly. That is maybe 6 years ago.
So you feel you are intelligent, you feel you are up there, you feel you are the best journalist, but you are carried away. You are not doing what you're supposed to be doing. How do you become more knowledgeable? By reading, by studying. So I'm just saying that social media has come to give us quick dose of dopamine. Who is first? Who gets it first? Who knows all? Without getting the details, the crux of the matter, without going into the crux of the matter.
Exactly. We just need to get, for example, a post that someone is dead, and then it goes viral.
It goes viral.
And then no one cares maybe to call to find out from the source, is the person really dead or not? We just share, and people are under pressure.
Yeah.
And that's how you see we think less, we act less, we think less. Still concerning social media and technology, I mean, I'm moving to a restaurant with 5 friends, so that makes it 6 of us. A plate of food is 1,000 francs, and then the waiter brings the bill, and then they go like, oh, they pull out their phone. How do you pull out your phone to calculate 1,000 times 6? So we are losing our natural instincts. Well, it may sound funny, but these things do happen.
Pull out the energy from your brain.
Exactly.
We don't. Everything has been made smartphone, smart reasoning, smart interaction.
Yeah.
So there's no time for
details.
There's no time for details. And like I said, in an African context where, take for example, a majority of the youths are unemployed, they spend more time on their phone. Internet is, with the 100 francs.
Philemon, I'm not cutting you short. We are having, because we'll talk about the social media, it is vast. We have, for instance, Facebook, But I don't know how many people, for instance, in Africa use LinkedIn. How many, for instance, use LinkedIn, which is a social network where you can go and get contact with people in the professional domain.
That's it.
You see, they're on Snapchat, maybe turning your turning your nose into that of a dog and then posting. I don't know what is the idea of maybe turning your nose into that of a dog and then posting online.
We have been carried away. That's the culture is gaining grounds. I mean, if you look at people's status, there are people who are always posting pictures on their status, and I mean, while abroad, most people use their status, WhatsApp status, for business purposes. They showcase their products, they showcase their services and goods. Here, I mean, we have young youths, unemployed. All they do is take pictures and change their status over the hour. So
and write targeted messages.
Elvis, it's a deplorable situation. It's a deploring situation. It's in the course of it's going down.
Bad.
I wonder how even adults in churches, places where you will normally not want to have a phone because of distraction. There they have their phones.
And they are
in courts, we've seen images in courts. We've seen, I mean, it's unbearable, and like I always say, it's more than negligence. It's ignorant. You're not supposed to take a picture of me without my consent. I mean, I can chop off 5 years of your salary in court as a result of that.
Exactly.
Africans, we do not know these things. We do them, I mean, on a daily basis. So I think we must upgrade. As Africans, we must upgrade our level of reasoning to meet up the intentions and the purpose of social media, because it is up there and we are down here, and it really cannot go. We will always have lapses, because like I said, the conception and the intention behind all of that was done without the consideration of the Africans. So it's always going to crash. There's always going to be conflict. There's always going to be images out there that we don't want to see. I mean, we will always have these things so long as we are Africans. I'm not saying that, if possible, why not? We can contextualize social media to an African setting. It is very possible. If they did it there, we can do it here. And I think some East Africans are working on a project like that. They are trying to conceptualize social media and everything to our African setting, taking into consideration our tradition, our culture, our diversity in language and all of that. So we have a long way to go, and I'm just so afraid if we continue in the same breakneck speed, social media could become more of a curse to Africa than a blessing.
Tohndoh Augustine, I think the social media too has also brought a lot of indecency online. If you don't control your eyes nowadays and you move online, you might find yourself seeing things which aren't supposed to be seen.
Yes, there are a lot of things that the other panelists have already cited, and one of the things that Philemon Mballe just said before I'm picking the mic now, he said ignorance plays a lot on Facebook. And this is what I want to say. I think there is an irresponsible use of Facebook. A lot of irresponsibility, because let me say this. Facebook was at the point of its creation. The policies that were made were not really made in kind of way that it can really protect the right of the user that much that you are able to control what you see, because today it's not what you love to see that you see on social media. You can just work on social media. Let me say this, especially Facebook. Do you actually know that Facebook monitors your conversations, monitors the calls you make, monitors everything you do? Let me give you a proof. Have you ever discovered that Facebook gives you suggestion of pages that you should like, and all those suggestions of the pages fall along your hobbies? They fall along what you follow, what you love, what you discuss on daily basis. How did they just know that I love religious pages, so that all the religious pages that they have, they bring to me and they write suggestion, a page you may like? All this is because when you are installing Facebook, they ask you to allow Facebook to have access to your microphone, allow Facebook to have access to your camera. So long as you have your microphone and it's on now, what happened? As we're talking now, they can be hearing what I'm saying. They can be monitoring, and all these things was done. It was created. Most of these social media platforms were created as a spying tool. If you really study its creation from the core, it was created as a spying tool. You see, this is a technological war that was going on between America, China, and other parts. So it's created as a spying tool where you can carry it somewhere and you spy somebody. Actually, now I can show you on your Facebook how Facebook is spying us now. And so with all this, what happens? You just sit and they suggest to you images that you don't like, indecent images. People today, you know, there are some people in the world who are so morally deficient. So they go, they snap pictures, they expose those nude pictures online, and naturally, even without Facebook, they were doing that. They were prostitutes in the street. So now prostitutes have just upgraded. They want to do an online business, online prostitution, and so they paste those pictures. And the moment they paste those pictures, Facebook allowed them to just move around. Now, actually, 3 days ago, 533 million users of Facebook had their numbers leaked online.
With their email addresses.
With their email addresses and all this. So how do people who want to hack information about me not be able to have this? Because Facebook has access to my contacts. They have access to my email address and all this. It means that if I'm no more private, if enemies want to get me anywhere and they have access to an organization, they can be able to track my Facebook, to track my email, and track my numbers and all this. So what I actually want to say is there's a need for a responsible use of these applications, because it has become like a drug. It has become like a drug that has drugged especially the youthful population. You can find somebody stay for 5 hours on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and actually these 5 hours he's staying, after that he goes begging for money. And these 5 hours, the last 1,000 francs he had in his pocket, he put data, he has just finished, he doesn't have food to eat. So it has come to make the society lazy. It has created a lot, it has made a lot of people even to lost jobs, because I've known people who have lost their jobs because their boss even walked into the office and they did not know they were on social media. And the boss passed by. The boss was even talking, they didn't hear. And they end up losing those jobs because of all those things. This is what has happened to our African community, and it's bringing moral decadence. I want to say social media is also a threat to national security. It's a threat to national security. And I think that our government should really be thinking about what they have to really do to really regulate this. Now, sir, I want to say that Cardinal Tumi is a national hero. He's a national hero. And his death, these last moments are supposed to be so sacred. And even the government is supposed to protect those last moments, because he stands as a figure in our nation. But what happens if those images are leaked online? Even if you arrest the nurse, but the deed is already done, and what is done can never be undone. We're talking about Cardinal Tumi. What about Pascal Monkam, the man they are burying today? Exactly. He's one of the great billionaires in our nations. He's one of those who have contributed to nation building. He has done a lot. And you see, his images were leaked at the South African airport in a plastic bag. You can imagine. And his death was, it was all over social media. He has died, when he has actually not died. There are some people whose moments are supposed to, there are some people whose lives are supposed to be secret. But sir, I have seen pictures of me on social media that I was not the one who posted them. People just sit and we can be talking and someone is taking a photo, and before I discover, someone is posting my picture on social media, and this is so terrible. And in an African context,
They see nothing wrong in it.
they see nothing wrong in it. In an African context, you don't know, I can carry you to court like Philemon Mballe was saying, and I can claim the rest of your life.
Exactly.
That is an abuse on my privacy.
What many people, sorry to cut you short, what many people don't know is that, for instance, even when it comes to the choice of photos that are supposed to be used, maybe you go to Google, you just go and pick somebody's picture. Things are not done that way.
It's not done.
There are some pictures that have rights that you can use. Yeah. And there are some pictures that you cannot use.
You cannot use.
So you don't just go to Google and then you pick a picture and then you come and start using. Because that picture has a right. Yeah. So there are some pictures that can be used and there are some pictures that can't be used. Yes. I want to come back to you, Tohndoh Augustine. Let me get to Ivo for him to talk about this issue of scamming, especially going on Facebook, and you know, where you find people pick up the identities of others and they send you friend requests, And so many people in Africa and also in Europe, but also people in Africa too, have lost huge sums of money because of they were not able to identify, who contact them on social media. You're going to find a Facebook request from a friend called Samuel Eto'o, and that is not actually Samuel Eto'o. And if you're not very smart, at the end of the day, you could find a situation whereby you are losing huge sums of money because you were unable to verify, you are unable to verify who you are really talking with. I don't know if you've been able to observe this phenomenon online.
Yes, Elvis, actually I've been able to observe, and I've taken my time sometime on several occasions. If I was not smart enough, I would have fallen victim. There have been cases where people have taken others' pictures, that of Samuel Eto'o. I've had a situation in there, and even have a situation where I had a call at night, and claiming to be Samuel Eto'o, and he's not the one. He's not the one. And after detailed conversation, I pulled on. I'm always very, very slow. Finally, when I even got to him, he told me that it was not this, because I finally got to it. Another one that came was this one of my friends who was Motomi Bome, who's the national president of the Cameroon Athletic Federation, on situation of recruitment and here and there and so on.
So many fake job opportunities.
Another one came which they used the name of Eno Abrams, of Elekam, and so on and so forth. So we finally got the person who used the name got in there that they should compile those years past use my brothers and so on. When he got to me to compile, I said yes, I've compiled. And then he said, he was going to send somebody to get to me. I just told him that, okay, yeah, you send the person. He told me that they were going to employ me there in Limbe and this and that. I said yes, okay. But now when he was about now to get to me, I told him that he should meet me at public security room 3. I'm still waiting for his call. So many people have fallen victims. They have fallen victims. They have used others' pictures on Facebook and all that, in the aspect of scamming, and got huge amounts of money.
Yeah.
We see there have been a lot of abuses, and many people have suffered victims. What I used to say, I say in my Facebook page, I said that be very careful the person that you are dealing with, so far as finance is concerned. Be very, very careful. And not every friend request you do receive. Most of the time,
sorry to cut you short. Even if you want to receive a friend request, I think if someone, for example, what happens is, if someone with a fake Facebook account sends me a friend request, and then maybe I see that Tohndoh Augustine is a mutual friend, maybe because I trust Tohndoh Augustine, I might say, oh, I know him, maybe he wants to get to me because he knows him. I think it's always important for us to verify who is sending your friend request.
Yes.
Get to the history of the person's page, look at when the person has been posting, and even if it is possible, write to other people who are his mutual friends to really find out if this person is real before you accept. Because if you accept a wrong friend request, it will have a negative impact not only on you but on your friend.
Your friends, it moves. That's true. That's really true. Most of the time, sometimes a good number of these people, if you get to their inbox, to their page, you realize you find 1-2 photographs. It's not long that I'll be able to establish, because the real person must have established for many years. Most of these people don't, and then when you discover them, they disappear.
And you also have on Facebook men who are using the pictures of ladies, using the pictures of women, and I mean they keep on posting and they write statements. You might look at it and you might feel that, oh, this person is real, but all of them are fake profiles.
1-2 communication, sometimes they give you a name, this number, go to WhatsApp. You go to WhatsApp, and then as you are writing, they say, well, we need to help you, this is send so and so amount so that we can be able to compile those here for you. Then you are finished. So thank you very much for that.
Okay, let me get to Labaran before I get to Tohndoh Augustine. Labaran, with the coming of the social media, we need to be able to really protect the sensitive information we have. I mean, like our bank account details, our PIN, and all of those kind of things. Because if we make the least error, we might find ourselves going bankrupt because of the inability to really use the social media in the right manner.
It's very true. It's very true, because sometimes many have suffered that already. There are people who have suffered from that. Leakage of bank accounts, they go, pocket is empty, or they have been extorted so much money, it's just clear. Sometimes even children who are going to pay their fees, before they even left the house, they know, they give them details, and it's taken away because of social media. Our exposure to social media is not a bad thing as such, it's a good thing. That's why when I saw this topic, I actually went to say, let me check it out. What is social media itself? Because you must know it in order to appreciate it as well as to condemn it. And when I look at it, it's just a wonderful thing where people can interact, share ideas, build up nations, build up dying economies. But in Africa here, it's something else. Most of our brothers here who ride in cars and are extorting money from India, from America, from Turkey, and they move in here with big cars, go and see where their own parents are living. They live in squalors, and some of them are not even able to pay rent, but their children are riding in cars of close to 45 million. Where is this coming from? From extortion, from scamming, broken into people's bank account in Europe. And sometimes too, there's a new phenomenon, they say, enjoy quick and die fast. Yes, something like that. You enjoy and die young. Yes. So Mr. Boh is actually a very, very, very bad idea, bad issue with social media and hacking in people's account. We know of government tension between countries, America and Russia, because of leaked information in the presidential election. We know of tension between America and China because of all these things. But yet in Africa, we see it as no problem. We just condone with them.
And we are not saying that the social media is bad. We are just looking at the impact in Africa, that so far the negative impact outweighs the positive impact. And Tohndoh Augustine, I would like you to, because we have to move to our next topic, which is about technology, how Africa can leverage technology to be able to compete with other continents. But before we do that, I would like you to give your last observations on the impact of the social media, negative impact of the social media on the African continent.
I want to say that overall, social media also has positive impacts, and we're looking now at the negative impact. Why are we looking at negative impacts? So that we can correct its use in Africa and make sure that, because our main aim at this platform is to ensure we promote that which will help build Africa. And I want to say this, social media has led to the leaking of declassified information. You know, there are some state information that is secret, and the integrity of a country depends on some information that country keeps on its own. But when that information can no more remain secret in a country and it's been leaked, I don't understand how this happens, but like I said, there is no responsible use of this social media. So at this point, my last word is that there is no way you can remove people from social media now. It's not possible, because Mr. Boh, what I want to actually say is it has helped even me myself, even though I've fallen a victim so many times. When social media just came up, I lost hundreds of thousands. I was about to travel to a nation to meet somebody whom I had booked an appointment with, and it's like somebody discovered it and came up on social media and pretended to be that person, collected close to £1 million from me, and before I ever come to discover that that person was not actually the one, and that was close to about 2015, about 6 years ago. And so finally, before I traveled to go and meet the person in that country, I discovered I had lost a lot of money. It was a high-profile person, just like he was talking about Sanwele-To, people using Sanwele-To and calling and all those things. So I want to call on I want to call on us to use social media responsibly. I want to call on the African youths to understand that what actually matters is how useful your life becomes, not how you communicate with useful people, because we use social media to communicate with useful people when our lives are not even useful, and the social media renders us useless. And I want to call on parents who have seen parents who have actually prioritized social media than their marriages. You have seen marriages moving apart. The wife can't even get the husband's attention anymore because the husband is on phone all the time. The husband can't get the wife's attention anymore because the wife is on phone all the time. And the same, the child is crying and the mom can't breastfeed the child because she's seriously writing on social media. Let us use social media responsibly, because we can't say we should stop it. We can't say it should be banned. All I can say is let us use it responsibly, and let us know that it can also harm us as well as it can be useful.
Thank you, Tohndoh Augustine, for your analysis. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, you're watching 90 Minutes in Africa. And today we had two themes to talk about. We are discussing about the impact of the social media on African society. And right now, it's time for us to transition to our next topic, which is how Africa can leverage technology to make the continent better than other continents. And I think I'm going to start with you, Ivo. Before we do that, you understand that, for example, now the coronavirus pandemic is ravaging the world, and right now we are only depending on imported vaccines. I think Nigeria is trying to come up with a vaccine, but we don't yet have enough details on that. And we also find a situation in Africa where we produce timber right here in so many African. We have timber in Africa, but we don't understand why some of African nations will have to import toothpick, from Europe, import toothpick from the US and China. That is something we've noticed, and we've also noticed that general education. Many people seem to prioritize general education over technical education, which is normally what we are supposed to encourage, so that the African society can boost its technology and compete with the West. Ivo Boh, how Africa should leverage technology to compete with other continents. I think we should be moving towards a period where Africa should cease from being the producer of raw materials, but should become a continent where raw materials can be processed into finished goods through.
To harness this issue concerning health, the African traditional medicine and other even and modern medicine could combine together to come out with something which can profit Africa and even the rest of the world. So one of the things in which I was trying to bring up, which I suggest, is for Africa to come out with an African health organization. Then the next thing there again is concerning the aspect of education, the educational field. The educational field, actually, most people think that it's in Africa 2/3 of the education is get towards the grammar and the thing that an African child believes on white collar job. Anyone going to school is expecting the government to employ them, and anybody who's not employed by the government feel that is lost. They should be able to indicate in the community for us to come out more with what tilt towards what we call industrialization, getting up industries and getting up beefing up the agriculture, so that the agricultural products could be converted to manufactured goods, finished goods, and then exported to Europe. Africa produces raw materials, take the raw materials, sell abroad, and then buy the finished goods at very high prices. That is the reason Africa will always remain underdeveloped. They produce raw material, sell at a very cheap cost because it's the West that determines the price, and then they buy it. The West now produce the goods and then sell back to Africa at exorbitant prices. Now we get the technology towards industrialization, converting the agricultural goods to industrial or manufactured goods to finished goods, then to be able to sell, not continue to exploitation. They should limit exploitation and start production. The building up schools that will involve on more on production rather than depending more on the government. I think that is going to help us a lot, And there are some even local items which we can be able use side aspect of an aspect like toothpick, for example. How can we have in our timber here, send it for finished goods somewhere else, and then produce a toothpick to sell to us? It's a slap on the face. It's a slap at this era. How many years after independence, African countries still act going back to the colonial situation as a source of raw materials for manufacturing industries in Europe. It is carrying. So the Africans have to they have to sit up to produce, to plant, harvest, produce in the industries, and then sell. Open more. They should open more plantations and then work more on their industries.
I want to get your suggestions. Tohndoh Augustine, how can Africa leverage on technology to ensure that the continent is able to compete with other continents, mainly the West?
Thank you, Elvis. To start with, I want to say the advent of technology brought in a lot of power competition. While in Africa, we are looking at political power and looking at how to take over presidencies. In other continents, they are looking at who controls the 5G, who controls nuclear weapons, and who controls what. It should be noted that small North Korea, as small as it is feared more than the whole Africa. Small North Korea, as small as it is feared more than the whole Africa. Why? Because of its nuclear weapons. They produce nuclear weapons. They stockpile nuclear weapons. This is the use of technology in most countries. Before we go into manufacturing goods and whatsoever, technology is a tool for control. Let us know this. The Western world, Europe, and most countries have used technology for control. And if Africa has ever gone into slavery, it was because of our technological gap. Now, what did the whites bring to Africa during the time of exploitation? They brought a gun. And what did we have? We had a spear. And when they shoot the gun, you shoot the spear, you throw your spear, and you kneel down and they pick you. This has been the situation till today. This has been the situation till date because Africa doesn't have the technology to produce its own defense system. Africa doesn't have the technology to produce its own finished products, consume the products they will consume. Africa lacks the technology to do this. Not because young Africans can't be able to study. Young Africans have studied, but the moment they finish studying, the West have absorbed them into their systems, and then it's like this brain drain, where most of them are taken into the West. And now,
but sorry to cut you short, but you know it happens because we are also unable to keep them. I think you discover that, for instance, a medical doctor who is maybe working in an African country who is not well treated, who doesn't have advantages, if he or she has a better opportunity abroad, I mean, which can help him to keep body and soul together, at one point in time, despite the passion, he will be tempted to give in.
That's true, Elvis. And what I want to propose is this. If we will continue to look at our pay package and what Africa can be able to offer to you, then there will be nobody to pay the price. There will be nobody, because we're actually on a Pan-African platform like this. And what we actually want, we want people who are able to pay the price for Africa to become what it should be. And for this to happen, you should be ready to study in school as a medical doctor and come out and not even plan for the government to employ you, but start up something in Africa. Let me explain something. Some years back, China was not producing semiconductors. All the microchips that were being used to produce Chinese phones was imported from America, from Micron. Micron was the company that was producing those microchips. And what happened? Chinese went into a policy of technological theft. And technological theft is one of the highest things that has become the center of the war today. You see, when Donald Trump was addressing the United Nations in his first sitting at the United Nations General Assembly, he made it clear that China stole the technology from America and has cost America a lot of billions, and the money is flying to China. What happened? They will send their people to come to the company, and they will come as stagiaires. They will come as people who are just coming to do voluntary work, but actually they are on instruction to spy the technology and get everything. In years to come, Huawei started producing what Micron was producing. And what happened? China now no more gets the semiconductors, the microchips from America. They do it. Why can't Africa do this? We have the money. We the African governments, there was a time the African governments were giving scholarships to students to go travel and then come back to work in the country. African government can come out with scholarship schemes. What I actually want to propose here is, I am not really so touched with political changes. I want an economic change in Africa. I want a situation. Let me tell you, there's where Africans are missing it. We want the presidency, but that is not actually where our problem lies. If as opposition, as Pan-Africanists, you can go for the parliament where laws are being voted, and you sit on the parliament and you vote laws that actually block the exportation of raw materials, and that the country will only export finished or semi-finished products. Even if you get timber, you want to export it, start processing the timber here before you export it, so that this will create jobs, because those companies that will be doing the processing of the timber will actually employ back Cameroonians. This is what Professor Lumumba called the Magufilication of Africa. He's struggling to take what Magufuli did. He blocked the exportation of all raw materials, and he said, let those companies come and let those countries come and do the companies in Tanzania. Transform the products here, and then you carry it to your country. I watched a few weeks ago Lazarus Chakwera, His Excellency Lazarus Chakwera, the president of Malawi, taking the same step. He made an announcement and he said all military uniforms that were being sewn outside the country and flown in, it has to stop. And all the maize that was being imported, the government will have to give loans to ensure that most companies grow the maize in Malawi and it's transformed in Malawi and people begin to eat. If we can do this in Africa, Africa now will be able to step up to compete with other continents. If we can't do this, then we will remain as a continent where people will mash us underfoot and move ahead.
Thank you, Tohndoh Augustine. Let me get the view of Labaran Bekondo on that. Labaran Bekondo, I would like to get your view on that, because he spoke about the role of the diaspora. He also spoke about the role of the diaspora, that they will also need passion to be able to stay back in the continent and try to see what they can do by being entrepreneurial in nature, so as to be able to maybe come up with clinics, come up with companies. But we already have so many Africans who are working abroad in top positions. Some of them are technocrats. We have scientists, top African scientists who are working abroad, and I think that if they are encouraged to come back home, I think they are going to create a huge impact by doing the technological transfer to our other brothers and sisters who are struggling here. While we are talking, I would like the producer to showcase some images of what our some young Africans here are trying to do. You see that our young people here have ideas. They try to do things, but probably they need to be mentored. You see, so what can we do, Labaran Bekondo, to ensure that our technocrats, our scientists who are abroad, are encouraged to, what can we do to encourage them to come back home, to facilitate this technological transfer to those who are in Africa, who haven't had the exposure they had?
Now, it goes back to management. Who are those leaders who are in the continent? What is their view about these people who are outside there? For example, I learned when Eto came with mobile, the tax he was giving here, he left here and went to Gabon. He had that intention of making sure that the Cameroonians are employed. Now, Said Mobile is in Gabon. How many Gabonese are employed there? We ourselves kill our own people coming back home. That's why I always say the leaders of our continent must have a change of mentality. They should not look at those who are coming from outside there as a threat to their system, but instead look at them as catalysts that will help boost up life in their various states. Now look at what a small boy is doing. That's a robot. But if it was in America or in the West, they have taken this guy and sent to school. Go and do it more. And once he comes...
And as I talk, we say those images are courtesy of Boh Desmond. I took them from the Facebook page of Boh Desmond, who I think is a young engineer trying to come up with things. I think it should be in the Southwest, Limbes.
Good. So you see what he's trying to do. How is our government prepared to help him to see that he goes more higher than this? He stays there and ends there with the family. Financial difficulties is one of the problems. Now, there's something I told the students the other day. When the Europeans called Africa the dark continent, it was not the dark as abuse as we meant it. It was not that. The dark continent meant the D was discovering African resources through knowledge. That's what they meant. Discovering African resources through knowledge. They call it the dark continent. We saw it as abuse. It was not. They saw that Africa is having resources, and the means they've gotten it is by investigating. They sent explorers. They sent traders. Go there and see that continent.
Okay, thank you, Labaran. Ivo, I would like to get your last analysis on that before we get the last word from each panelist and conclude the program, because I think we have 3 minutes to the end of the program. So you just have you have maybe 30 seconds to give your concluding remarks on the topic of how Africa should leverage technology to compete with other continents.
They should invest more on agriculture and try to boost up their industry. That is all I can say. The government has tried in some African countries to send people to go and study abroad. They went and never came back.
Tohndoh Augustine, maybe I read some messages before I get your reactions. Getting messages. I'm getting messages from Dr. Boh Mike, who is writing negative impact outweighs positive. Where did you guys get this data to justify the statements? You cannot draw conclusions from our perceptions. Anyway, that's what Dr. Boh is writing. We also have Jack Shiglungo. Jealousy in your blood, my man. I think he's reacting to what Mr. Ivo Boh said. Jealousy in your blood, my man. Wickedness is different from thief. He can still steal money from Europe and help his family. We just want to tarnish the image of the diaspora who are doing better than us, because I think they are reacting. Thank you so much, Jack Shinlo, for sending in your contribution. Let me try to get some other messages that have come in from SMS. I'm having. Hi, Mr. Boh Elvis. I enjoyed the program very much, and I'm so happy to see on that platform. Permit me to say happy to say I'm happy for the show. Wango Peter Mukong writing all the way from Yaoundé. Let me see if I can have some other messages coming in via WhatsApp. Good afternoon. My name is Ndifon Gilbert from Elak Oku. The issue of late Monsignor Cardinal Tome, following what was on social media, the doctors were beside his remains. They were the ones who privately published that on social media. Tohndoh Augustine, general conclusion. You have 30 seconds to conclude.
My general conclusion is let the African states invest in agriculture, invest in manufacturing companies, and learn to invest in technology. Let African take technology now as an investment, and let the government pick it up as a program.
Labaran, 30 seconds.
Now, what I will prescribe for Africa will be raw material for technology. Africans should be prepared to give to Europe raw materials in exchange for technology. That is a prescription. Don't take their money. Just get them. Come and install those companies, and we'll give you the raw materials. With that, Africa will go ahead.
Thank you, Tohndoh Augustine. Thank you, Labaran Bekondo. Thank you, Ivo Boh. Thank you, Philemon Mballe, for accepting to be part of the show. On behalf of the entire technical, administrative, and editorial crew of my Media Prime, we want to thank you for taking your time to watch this program, and you can watch a rebroadcast of the show every on Sunday from 10 a.m. If you did enjoy the program, why not come in tune in same time next week 1 p.m. for another edition of 90 Minutes in Africa. I'm Boh Elvis. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.